Welcome to Live Interactive English Magazine. Today's lesson is called High-Tech Food Labels Fighting Food Waste, Part 1. Let's start going over today's vocabulary.
Okay, the first vocabulary word is dump.
Dump.
Ruby took the old furniture to the city dump.
Number 2, including.
Including.
The book costs $36, including tax.
Transportation.
Transportation.
Transportation to the airport is available if you need it.
Number 4, rate.
Rate.
The production rate at this factory is 500 cakes per day.
Number 5, spoil.
Spoil.
The milk in the fridge has started to spoil.
So, I think what we should do is we should teach these high-tech food labels karate.
Karate.
Well, it's a way that you can fight. You can fight food waste with karate.
Like chop the food label in half?
Karate chop.
Ta-da!
Hot. Exactly like that. I couldn't have possibly
And
done
how
it
are
better
we going
myself.
to help with food safety in this way?
I hadn't thought it through that far. I see fighting, though. I think karate. Anyways, let's get started with today's lesson.
High-tech food labels fighting food waste. More than 1.3 billion tons of food are wasted globally each year, with much of this food waste often ending up in garbage dumps. The worst part is that a lot of this food is still edible when it's thrown out. It's a waste of the many resources used in food production, including land, water, energy, and transportation. On top of this, the production of animal-based foods creates large amounts of greenhouse gases. What if there were a way to cut down on food waste?
Today's lesson is called High-Tech Food Labels Fighting Food Waste. Part 1. Hello everyone, my name is Jeff.
And my name is Mike, and this is actually something I've never thought about, but now I hear about it, this sounds like a great idea. We've already talked about food waste, all the food that ends up in the garbage. What was it, like 30 or 40% of the food that comes from the farm ends up going in the garbage. Supermarkets throw it out, restaurants don't use it, we throw it out of our refrigerator. So if we could get some food labels, something on the package of food that kind of tells you when to eat it, when it's still good to eat, when it's not good to eat, we could save a lot of food. Because I think a lot of people just, oh, I bought this a week ago, it's probably no good, and we throw it away. But we don't know, so if we could have intelligent food labels helping us make intelligent decisions about our food, we could hopefully bring down food waste. Because it's a big problem.
To summarize, food waste is a very big problem. Now let's put a number on just how big a problem this is.
Okay.
More than 1.3 billion, with a B. 1.3 billion tons of food are wasted globally each year, with much of this food waste often ending up in garbage dumps. And if you were counting there, a million is a 1 followed by 6 zeros. A billion is is 1 followed by 9 zeros. So 1.3 billion tons, that's 1, 3, and then 8 zeros, okay? And yes, this is wasted food. It ends up in garbage dumps.
That's right, and of course we also have problems with our dumps becoming too full of everything. So this would help there too, because the dump is where they bring all the garbage. You know, when you go down and you hear the garbage truck singing that song and you put all your garbage in the back, well, at the end of that evening or the day, when those trucks are full, they drive outside the city to a place called the dump, or maybe called a landfill, and they back up the trucks, and all of that stuff just ends up in a big pile, a big stinky pile full of old stuff, food, clothes, broken everything. For example, Ruby took the old furniture to the city dump. Yeah, old furniture too. It all ends up in the dump. Now, the worst part is that a lot of this food is still edible when it's thrown out. If something's edible, you can eat it. All right, it might be safe to eat or fresh to eat, or, you know, even things that you can't eat, like a chair is not edible, but a chair made of bread would be.
Now, if that chair, if you couldn't sit in it anymore, if it was broken, you'd throw it away.
Right.
But if it were a perfectly good chair, you might try to give it away if you didn't want it anymore, or you might try to do something with it. Here we've got edible food. Share it, put it in the fridge, turn it into something else, try to recook it somehow, use it, just don't throw it away. This is such a waste in so many ways. It's a waste of the many resources used in food production, including land, water, energy, and transportation. So, here, I'm saying that this is a gigantic waste of many, many things. Like what? That's why I'm using this preposition including. Okay, so it's a waste. Okay, a waste of what? Of what things used in food production? Including indicates the things, all of the things that might be wasted in this particular situation. Okay, for example, the book costs $36 including tax. So there is going to be some tax added on there, okay? That's going to be a part of the thing as well.
All right, so yes, when we make food, we need land to grow it on, we need water, we need all of that stuff, but we have to get the food from the farms to the supermarkets where we can buy it, and that's where transportation comes in. This noun basically talks about anything that moves things around, all right? In a very basic form, your feet are a form of transportation, but we often use it to talk about cars, trucks, trains, airplanes, boats, ships, things like that. So when we're using transportation in this general way to talk about a category of things, we're basically talking about the way the world moves things around. For example, transportation to the airport is available if you need it. Notice I'm not saying a bus to the airport, a taxi to the airport, a train to the airport. I don't have to say what kind of transportation, just transportation. You want to take a bus? You want to take a taxi? It's all transportation. So, on top of this, on top of all the waste that goes into this food production when we throw away the food, on top of this, the production of animal-based foods creates large amounts of greenhouse gases. Yes, cows produce gases when they burp and stuff like that. That adds to the greenhouse gas problem. So, what if there were a way to cut down on food waste? It would save us all sorts of trouble and all sorts of resources.
And there is a way. Stop wasting food,
That's
everyone. Anyways, folks, with that, it's time for us to take a break, but don't go away. We'll be right back after this.
Hello， 大家好，我是 Hanny。现今食物浪费的情形很严重，那如何减少食物浪费就是全球性的重要课题了。我们这2天的课文呢是要介绍高科技食品标签，也许呢能够有助于改善这个问题。好，课文一开始写到，全球每年有超过13亿公吨的食物被浪费掉，那其中大部分的食物最后往往都会进到垃圾场。那么最糟的是，很多食物其实都还可以吃就被丢掉嘞，于是就浪费了食物生产当中所使用的许多资源，像是包括土啊、水啊、能源和运输。好，我们先来看3个单字 ，dump 这个名词它表示垃圾场、垃圾堆。那么 Mike 老师说的 landfill，landfill 表示垃圾掩埋场。好，老师还有用到形容词 stinky， 就是形容臭臭的、产生臭味的、不好闻的。我们来拼一下 stinky stinky。好，下一个单字是 including 这个介系词它表示包括、包含。那么 transportation 这个名词是指运输。好，课文接着写到，除此之外，去生产以动物为根本、跟动物相关的这种食品呢，会制造大量的温室气体。要是有办法减少食物浪费呢？好，这边有4个重点哦。第一个是片语介系词 on top of 加上名词，它是表达除了什么什么之外还有什么，这时候它就相当于 in addition to。例如 Harry always arrives on time. On top of that, His job performance has always been excellent. Harry 总是很准时。那除此之外呢，他的工作表现一直都很杰出。好，我们句中用到 on top of that， 那个 that 指的就是前面提到的事，也就是说前面讲很准时的那件事。除了这个之外，还怎么样？好，第二重点 amount 它可以用来表达不可数名词的量，可能像是时间啊、金钱、水等等的量。那么用法是 a 或 an 形容词 amount of 加名词，或者是形容词 amount of 加名词。其中这个形容词呢，我们常会用 large、huge、great、small 等等来修饰它的数量多寡。例如Lemons contain a huge amount of vitamin C. 柠檬含有大量的维他命 C。好，那补充一下，同学们有时候可能会看到 amount 被用来修饰复数可数名词的量。那么根据字典，这个用法常被批评为是错误的。那这个用法常常用在物质名词或是集合名词的情况，像课文句子里面，它是用物质名词 gases。来指各种气体 ，large amounts of greenhouse gases 表示大量的温室气体。那温室气体是有各种气体这样子。好，那么第三个重点 ，what if 就相当于 what would happen if 怎么样怎么样，来表达说要是什么什么会怎么样呢？该怎么办呢？好，那后面接的子句呢，可以用直说法，也就是时态就照正常变化，也可以接假设法来表达跟事实相反的情况。举例来说 What if our car broke down on the freeway? 要是我们车子在高速公路上面抛锚，该怎么办啊？那这件事情并没有发生，可是我们子句里面用了过去式动词 broke， 所以这边就是用假设法来表达。第四个重点，片语动词 cut down， 它表示减少、削减什么什么，后面常常会搭配介系词 on 再加名词或动名词。例如His doctor advised him to cut down on sugar in his diet. 他的医生建议他日常饮食要减少糖分摄取。好，接回到课文中。
High-tech food labels fighting food waste. A UK startup called Mimica might have come up with one such way. Many food products actually can be eaten long after the use-by date the manufacturers print on the packaging, which is an estimate at best. Mimica has developed high-tech food labels that can clearly indicate whether foods are fresh.
Okay, so how are we going to end food waste? How are we going to cut down on it? Well, a UK startup called Mimica might have come up with one such way. And we'll learn about that right now.
All right, so there's this new company, a startup called Mimica from the UK. What is their big idea? It says many food products actually can be eaten long after the use-by date that manufacturers print on the packaging, which is an estimate at best.
At best.
That's right.
Not exact.
No, I remember I worked in a store where we used to replace the milk. And I noticed, wow, the milk goes in and out really quickly because of that little date on it. But really, that's just kind of for the stores to keep the stock fresh. If you buy it and keep it at home in the fridge, you can drink that milk many days after that use-by date. So to think of that as just being like the day after, oh, it's bad for you. Yeah, no, that's not true. It's an estimate at best. Usually it's good for days, maybe even weeks afterwards.
If only technology could help.
Yeah.
And that's where Mimica comes in. Mimica has developed high-tech food labels that can clearly indicate whether foods are fresh.
Okay.
So there you go. No more estimating whether or not a food has gone bad or not. We can do things very specifically without estimating. We can be very, very accurate. All right, folks, with that, it's time for us to take a short break, but don't go away. We'll be back after this.
有一间叫做 Mimica 的英国公司想出一个可能可以减少食物浪费的方法。我 我们平常在食品包装上面看到的食用期限啊，它只是个估计值，有的食品可能过期好一段时间都还能吃。那么 Mimica 这间公司它就开发出高科技食物标签，它可以清楚的显示这个食物新不新鲜。好，那刚刚 Jeff 老师说，有了这个标签就可以确切知道食物什么时候会坏掉。这时候老师用到 specifically， 就是 specific 这个明确的、确切的，后面加上 ally 变成副词，表达明确的、确切的 specifically。那还有一个副词也可以学起来是 precisely， precisely 可以表达精准的、准确的。好，接回课文中。
High-tech food labels fighting food waste. The company's touch indicators come as either flat labels that can be placed on products or as bottle caps for drinks. A gel inside the indicator reacts at the same rate that a food spoils. All a consumer has to do is run a finger over the label or cap. If it is smooth, the product is fresh. If it is bumpy, the product is spoiled.
Okay, more on Mimica and their high-tech food labels, okay? Mimica wants to cut down on food waste. How are they going to do this? Well, their food labels, they don't estimate, okay? They can tell you more precisely whether or not a food item has gone bad. Remember, old-fashioned food labels and stuff like that, they estimate things, okay? You can't really tell whether or not a food has gone bad using an old-fashioned food label.
Absolutely. So what is Mimica's product like? Well, it says the company's touch indicators come as either flat labels that can be placed on products or as bottle caps for drinks. So they have these two indicators, sort of labels or signs that give you information, and they can have a flat one for products or a bottle cap for drinks and things like that. And so, right, it's a little label, they stick it or tie, attach it to the product, and then how does it work?
It says a gel inside the indicator reacts at the same rate that a food spoils.
Oh, interesting.
How smart. I like that. Now here when we're talking about a rate, we're talking how quickly something moves generally, okay? Now here though, to be specific, when a food spoils, it does so at a rate, okay? One day it just doesn't go bad all of a sudden. It slowly goes bad over a certain amount of time, usually slowly and at a certain rate. For example, the production rate at this factory is 500 cakes per day. That's how much you could expect them to make per day. Anyways, I've already used the word spoilage. That would be a noun. The verb would be spoil.
Yeah, to spoil is basically when a food goes bad, when it kind of goes from fresh and delicious and it looks right, it looks good, to, having the brown spots on a banana or those brown markings on the outside of an apple. When your milk starts to smell a little bit sour, it's spoiling. Of course, when meat looks gray or something like that, it's definitely spoiled. So when you talk about spoiled something as an adjective, you wouldn't want to eat it. If something spoils, it goes from fresh and delicious and healthy and edible to something you definitely don't want to eat. It could be bad for you. For example, the milk in the fridge has started to spoil. It's probably been in there for a few weeks, or maybe the power went off for some hours and your milk got warm, right? If you leave milk out, it will spoil as well. So there we go. We have these labels with this gel. They change at the same rate that the food spoils. So as a customer or a consumer, as a buyer of that food with this label, all a consumer has to do is run a finger over the label or cap. Very interesting. So it's also useful for blind people too.
There you go. Now, if it is smooth, the product is fresh.
I can't feel it. Okay.
There you go. Now, if it is bumpy, the product is spoiled. It has gone bad. How ingenious.
Cool.
All right, folks, with that, it is time for us to say goodbye for now. We'll see you next time, though.
Mimica 公司所开发出的这个触控指标呢，可以放在产品上面当平面标签，也可以当饮料瓶盖。那这个指标内是有凝胶的，它的反应速度就跟食物变质的速度一样，所以消费者呢只需要用手指划过标签，或者是划过这个盖子。如果是平滑的，就表示产品还新鲜；那如果凹凸不平，就表示这个产品腐坏了。好，这边有2个单字 ，rate。Rate 在这边当名词，表示速度、速率或比率。那么 spoil 可以用来表达食物它是变质、腐败的这个动作，它是动词。那文中是用它的过去分词 spoiled 来形容说是变质的、腐败的。好，那如果我们在 spoil 后面加上 age 会变成名词 spoilage 它可以表达腐坏、腐败。好，那刚刚说到消费者只需要，好，这时候课文它用到的句型是 All that somebody have to do is to 加原形动词，这表示说某人唯一得做的就是什么什么，某人只需要做的就是什么什么。好，句型中的 all 它是先行词，就相当于 the only thing。那么后方的关系子句 that somebody have to do 就是用来修饰 all 这个先行词 ，that 可以省略不用，所以呢 all that somebody have to do 或是 all somebody have to do 表示某人唯一得做的事。好，那这时候特别注意哦，这个主词 all 必须视为单数，所以我们后面是搭配单数动词 is， 然后 is 后面再接不定词来当它的主词补语。好，还要注意一件事，就是说，当我们这个 that 关系子句里面如果含有动词 do 的话，这个句尾不定词的这个 to v 的 to 通常会省略。举例来说 ，All you have to do is to press the button。可以说 All you have to do is press the button， 直接用 is 接原形动词 press。好，意思就是说你只需要按这个按钮就可以咯。好，以上是今天的讲解，同学别走开，马上回来哦。
Hi everyone! Let's take a look at another amazing landmark of Brazil. Oscar Niemeyer, a famous Brazilian architect, designed the beautiful Niterói Contemporary Art Museum. The museum stands in the middle of a round pool like a giant flower. Some say the museum looks like a flying saucer. Because of its location on the shore, you can see a nice view of the Atlantic Ocean, Rio de Janeiro, and Sugarloaf Mountain. Another interesting thing about the museum is the long winding path that leads to the entrance. The entrance is on the first floor, and the exit is on the second floor. This design lets people stay on one path as they walk through the museum. You'll also notice that the balconies, lamps, and other things in the museum are round. Oscar Niemeyer really liked round shapes. If you visit Brazil, go have a look inside the Niterói Contemporary Art Museum. Here is more information. Collector. My grandfather is a collector of antiques. Collection. The collection of stamps took Yvonne 10 years to collect. Design. I don't like the design of this dress. Encircle. The lake is encircled by trees. Modern. The USA is a modern country. Private. The private plane cost Jordan a lot of money. Own. Michael owns 2 cars. Painting. There are some paintings on the wall. Alien. Do you believe in aliens? Interesting. They are watching interesting TV shows. Well, after learning about the Niterói Art Museum, I really want to visit it. Well, I hope you want to too. See you next time!
See you next time!